Today's guest is Stefan, otherwise known as Tough Love, the British DJ, producer, songwriter and record label owner behind many house music hits that have rocked the dance floors since 2011. Best known for their chart-topping and club banger single So Frickin' Tight that hit #1 in the dance charts and held a number 11 spot in the UK charts. Tough Love then followed up with another popular track called Pony, featuring R&B icon Genuine. Tough Love boasts collaborations with artists like Clean Bandit, Jess Glynn and Meghan Trainor. They become a force to be reckoned with in the music scene, and as well as rocking clubs and festivals all over the world. Let's dive into Tough Love's story and get this going. Welcome, Steph. Welcome.
Well, thanks for having me.
We wanted to go back in time now.
Oh, God.
I know you've been in the game for a while. I think the first time I met you was many years ago. We won't say the time, but you were rocking it in CC Club, which was an absolute legendary club.
What a night.
Back in the day in London in Mayfair. We'd love you to just take a step back and tell us about how you got into DJing and the music scene and take listeners on the journey.
That's way further than CC's as well. That's the problem. Yeah, so little old 13-year-old me used to listen to pirate radio. Obviously, pirate radio was where we listened obviously got all the new music and all the up and coming sort of house and garage music at the time. And that was me. I got a bug for electronic music then. Me and my older brother, we pestering my dad for months about getting like decks and trying to get into DJing. We caught him on a Sunday after a heavy night out for himself. Slightly drunk, and then he took us up to Tottenham Court Road because he had a little bit of savings for us. He was like, listen, you can use this now if you want, instead of obviously the future. Nice. So he took us out. He was drunk. Got us on really sort of budget turntables. We picked up a bunch of vinyls from like a mate later on down the line, and then that was it. The bug kicked in. Wow. Yeah, and never sort of looked back. Yeah,
and was there like a moment, sort of, for you wanting the turntables? Was there like an artist or an influence that?
I think obviously a lot of DJs, they relate back to EZ technical skill and the tunes he was playing. He was such a big tastemaker, especially on like Ice FM and stuff. Was listen to that show religiously. And it was very much kind of listening to what he would do and then wanting to sort of follow in that kind of footsteps and do it ourselves.
So started from 13. Take us on a journey. Like when did it start happening for you?
So back then, obviously, getting into clubs was a lot easier than it is now. So I think from 13, 14, I was actually in clubs, listening to I know. But obviously, when you have an older brother, you're mingling with older people. And obviously, stuff was a little bit more relaxed back then. So sneaking into clubs, making fake birth certificates so I can walk in, because obviously you didn't always need ID. So printing out fake birth certificates and just going in. We mentioned off mic, obviously Elam Boulevard was a frequent place for us to go. There was a place called Rock Half where it had loads of sort of wicked DJs and MCs, and we were regulars there every single week. So that was where I really think the bug kind of kicked in.
Wow. Amazing. And was there a point where you realised I can actually make money from this and this could be a career? When did that start to happen for you?
I suppose I played my first proper club show. I was about 16, 17. It was a club called Zeniths in Park Royal. And I think EZ played after me, which was crazy. And I remember I had Gemini and Viper either side of me, and I was smaller. These two were massive lumps. So they just sort of overshadowing me in the booth. And I think from there, it's quite a biggish venue. Quite a few people in front as well. And I think from there I thought, this is definitely something I could pursue as a career. Yeah.
Did you get paid for that gig?
I probably didn't, to be honest. I can't remember. Probably not.
I think everyone says
playing to a crowd. Was that so many people?
I'm quite an introvert person. I'm quite a shy person. So talking publicly and stuff is not my confidence zone at all. But where I was so confident in my skill set of DJing, it's very much heads down, play the music, don't even focus on the crowd in front of me. So nervous, of course, to begin with, but again, confident in what I was capable of doing. So
I love that. And in terms of sort of, that first club break, I know you talked about the Park Royal Club, but the club where you thought, wow, this is an amazing club. When did that happen for you? As we talked about CC earlier.
It's strange. I think the journey took me in so many different spaces and places. It's very hard to kind of just pick one. They've all sort of had their own sort of identities. They've all had their own crowds. I couldn't particularly pick one and say, yeah, this is amazing. I think the journey itself is what has really been
amazing.
Sort of like what's got me into, okay, I can make a career here doing this. I can make a career here doing that. There's so many aspects of DJing that I don't think people realize you can make a career in many, many ways. So for me, it was enjoying the journey and falling into pockets and spaces which work for me, I suppose.
Yeah, amazing. Amazing. In terms of like the production side of it, because obviously what's amazing about your journey is like you're sort of multifaceted, you know, you're a business owner from a record label perspective. Obviously you produced songs. When did that start to happen for you, and when did you start to like produce and stuff?
So I tried to dabble in sort of production quite early on. It was so difficult, but then with computers and programs it became a lot easier. And I remember getting my hands on this thing called DJ 2000, and it was literally just chopping up audio files. That's all I was doing, just chopping samples and making edits and mashups. And then I got kind of the bug of the geeky side of the production. Like, I can do this. I can make this sound like that. I can build bass lines and melodies and take something from one track and put it into another. And then I started making like cut and dub plates for my own shows. So from where I was playing garage sets at the time, it was very much like, okay, I can have an edit of this and I'm the only person with it.
That's right.
And that was it. The bug for the production came in there, making mashups, edits. And then I'd done like a Beverly Hills Cop edit.
Yeah.
And I released that in like 2001, and I pressed it up onto vinyl. Like me and a friend, we put some money together, pressed it up on vinyl, and I think we sold like 1,500 copies of it, which is like from hand
vinyl,
ourselves. So not bad going. Like £3 to £6 a vinyl.
Right, all cash probably back then as well.
100%. No, I didn't receive anything.
If the tax man is watching, there's nothing to see here. Oh wow! So, like at that point, you're selling 1,500 copies of a track that you've produced and mixed. Did you start to sort of think, I prefer that over DJing at that point, or did it all just blend into one?
Yeah, I think they just came hand in hand. I think it gave me the edge on other DJs in the sense of I had my own stuff. You wouldn't be able to hear what I'm playing unless you come and see me kind of play.
Right.
And very much so, like being able to take other people's music and have my own version of it. Amazing. Was very like it's a benefit, I suppose, which has sort of stuck with me the entirety of my career.
Yeah. That's amazing. So, want to stay on the production theme for a second, and we'll step back to sort of clubs and stuff. But like your debut single, we talked about in the intro, "So Freaking Tight." Like that song, I could not get out of my head. It was played everywhere. It obviously was a hit. It did big things. Like, talk to us about the process of making that track, and mainly like for listeners, how you felt when it achieved what it achieved.
I think going back, like, MK done a remix of the original Jodeci, Freaking You, and that's where the inspiration initially came from. Before that anyone even heard that, when me and Alex formed Tough Love in 2011, we started on building edits and sort of mashups for our sets. Again, sort of same formula that I was doing maybe 10 years prior. And we had a nice sort of run of club tracks initially before So Freaking Tight was even made. So we was getting great support from a lot of DJs. A lot of sort of breakthrough DJs were playing and supporting our music. I'm trying to trace it back before I came in to see what our first release was, but it must have been 20 plus releases before So Freaking Tight even touched the market. I made a track called Lonely Highway, and if you listen to that, it's a Jodeci sample. Sonically, it's almost identical to So Freaking Tight.
Nice.
And again, it was just an edit for my sets. Like we were playing that, we were playing Pony, we had a couple other tracks that were doing pretty well. No one else had them. And we saw the reaction that the crowd had when we played So Freaking Tight. Went to management, went to a few labels, everybody turned it down.
Wow.
Yeah, no one was interested in the track, which was surprising.
Why?
So, I don't know. I think a few years ago, music didn't transcend the pond very well. So when something was very UK based, people couldn't see past the UK because it had such a UK sound. I don't know, I feel like the labels weren't very open minded with it. And I'll be honest, with labels, they're very stuck in their own kind of like what's successful at the minute is what is supposed to be successful. But they don't realize, obviously, especially dance music, it takes months, if not years, of promotion of a record to even get it to wherever it needs to be. So we set up Get Twisted Records in 2012 and then decided, you know what, we're just going to release this ourselves.
Yeah.
Found out how to clear the sample, released it on Get Twisted. Annie Mac gave it the premiere on Radio 1.
Nice.
And then everyone who turned us down came running back like, oh, we want the track, we want the track. And I'm like, okay.
You're going to pay a bit more for it now.
Yeah. So we licensed it to Island Universal through Get Twisted in the end. So it worked out as being quite a good bit of business for ourselves.
Okay.
Wow.
So almost that sort of rejection almost ended up being probably the best thing that could have happened to you guys.
For sure.
Do you feel like that gave you some sort of resilience and steel for what was to come in the industry? Because it's a tough industry.
I don't know if we were prepared for what was to come, to be honest. Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
When you step into the major world, it is very, very different. Like the way things work is so different.
Okay.
Turnaround of staff is so quick.
Yeah.
Like the level of money and the level of marketing and stuff. It's just a completely different world that we were quite alien to.
Yeah.
But we learned so much being a part of it.
Yeah, I can imagine. And obviously, you know, you and Alex
Yeah.
formed Tough Love together. Can you talk to us a little bit about like how that came to be? And
Yeah, of course.
Obviously now you've been a solo artist for a while now.
Yeah.
So like, can you talk to us about that?
So
situation?
I was a resident DJ up in a place called McQueen's. Alex was working the door. He was like a door picker at McQueen's as well. We'd always cross paths, and it was just before that kind of peak of like deep house music, where the Jamie Jones and them kind of guys were coming through, and I'd obviously be playing the stuff. He was loving the stuff, and he was saying, "I want to get into production, want to get into." So we mutually met through Clubland. I was like, "Yeah, sweet, get into the studio." We got in, we started working on stuff, and when you connect with someone, you know, like straight away, both our ideas were very much like, "This is where we want to be. This is what we want to do. Let's get it done." And the flow of our work was almost effortless at times. And we're from two different worlds, two different backgrounds, but shouldn't have worked, but we did.
It did work,
We worked really, really well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was it. We weren't even talking about doing a duo. We were talking about like a media hub, doing like photography, videography, like music production, DJing and stuff. And I suppose Tough Love came off the back of our ethic at the time was hard work. Like we just got a graft.
Yeah.
Everything's hard, like work.
Yeah.
And then Tough Love was one of the names we put into the pot, and was like, that's a good DJ name actually. Let's roll with that.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah. We all know a lot about names. To come up with the name of the show took us about 1,000 names possibly. So,
From a hat kind of deal. Yeah, it's
amazing. So like, what happened in terms of sort of, you know, you guys sort of parting ways and
so me and Al still work together in some capacity.
Right.
Just before COVID, he took the trip over to LA with his wife. He obviously COVID had a big impact on a lot of people. I'd let him tell his side of the story. Obviously, I wouldn't want to speak on behalf of him, but it came to a point where he's like, Steph can't really do this anymore. Like, not in the headspace to do it. Like, and mutually, he was like, you carry on, you do what you need to do.
Right.
But the door's always open. That's my brother. He can always come back in and do, you know,
That's good.
Tough Love if he needs to.
Yeah, that's what I mean. People always assume that when you kind of go off and do your own thing, you had it with exclusive touch with your crew and stuff, and you know, for my business exploits as well, similar. It doesn't always end in bad terms, does it? And you always appreciate what you've achieved together.
Yeah, of course. We're always on a level. We were always very much professional with our thing. Like there was I can't even think of any times we argued about music. Like we were very much on the same page.
Right.
If there's a problem, say it. If there's, do you know what I mean? That's how our relationship always was. And I think when the time came and he just decided, it's not right for me anymore.
Yeah.
It was easy. It was, but with our brand, I think a lot of people knew our music, but they didn't know our faces. So it was very easy for me to just say, well, there's no point in us even announcing and making a big hoo-ha about it being a breakup or anything. Like there's been 2-3 years of COVID now already. Like some people there's a whole new generation of people that don't even know who Tough Love is. They might know So Freaking Tight, they might know Pony. So we don't need to do the big sort of breakup story. So that was it. Just carried on as normal.
Amazing. And doing amazing things now. So I want to go back to the club days. Can you talk a little bit about like evolution of the club scene and like what you think was the best periods in time for clubbing? And
so I would say late 90s for me was like where I fell in love with it, and just the vibe and the energy of the music and the crowds was amazing. Early 2000s was great, but you started to see a change in the sonics of music. People would kind of sort of venture off into different sounds. I think garage was my first love. Well, I suppose jungle was my first love, and then garage evolved. That was garage was always the one for me. That's what I suppose my record collection represents. That is all of that stuff. But then I think when it transitioned to grime, it stopped being fun. It stopped being kind of like, I was used to being in clubs where girls were vibing, guys were vibing, the environment was great. You could sing along, you could have a laugh and a joke and walk out of a venue. And then it just became a sausage fest of MCs fighting for the microphone, and it weren't what I was about. So it transitioned into a bit more of house, and then a bit of multi-genres, a bit of hip-hop and R&B and stuff like that. And funnily enough, I fell into a hip-hop and R&B world, like where I met you.
Exactly,
So... it fell into kind of that West End lifestyle, going into sort of exclusive clubs, kind of high-end venues and stuff, playing 3-4 times a week and that kind of thing. I enjoyed it. It was a great experience, no doubt. But then 2011 came, and I noticed a sound that sounded so familiar to me, which was the housey, the garagey kind of bump and sound, and which eventually became deep house. Me and Alex formed, and I felt like I was already ahead of the curve because I knew the sound, I knew the music, I knew what needed to be put in it, and that was it. We were just relentless. And then that period, I think 2011 through to 2014-15, it's unmatched. Unmatched.
Great time. And I know DJs always get a bit nervous at this question because they never want to upset anybody, but like, can you talk us through, like, from a playing perspective, top 3 venues, clubs?
Matt, do you know how difficult that is?
I know.
It's difficult because I don't always think the venue represents the vibe, if you know what I mean. There's that. So I played some amazing parties. I think we took over Sankey's in Ibiza. We done a party called Red Light in 2015. I think that's probably some of my best memories in a club. It was low ceiling, massive sound system, just dirty, but like everyone there for the right reasons. It's so hard. That is my instant kind of one. But man, play clubs all over the world, so it's very difficult to pick one.
Exactly. No, fair enough. And just talking about Sankey's, like, is there a standout moment for you in terms of performing? One that always comes to mind is when We Are Festival started. So we had a couple releases with Tool Room Records. And that was actually before So Freak and Tight, and a few of them tracks came out. There was one track in particular called What You Need Is Me, and we were trying to get it signed to Tool Room at the time. They weren't too sure about it, and they had a tent in at We Are Festival, and I think it was one of their early years, and the tent was empty when we came in, and I was thinking, I was excited about playing it, and then I think we played 2 records, and then all of a sudden the whole tent just like it was full up from start to finish, and that was the kind of moment I was like, oh, you get a little bit sort of it caught me off guard a little bit, and I thought, okay, this is where our music is doing a little bit now. And there's a bit of, you can see the momentum, because where that stage was positioned, you didn't really know how to get there. If you know, people turned up because they were familiar with our sound. Wow. And how did that feel?
Mate, it's scary. It was amazing, but at the same time, it was like, the realization kicks in. You're like, oh wow.
So I think one of the things that a lot of the guests talk about, and a lot of our guests come from different parts of the nightlife and hospitality industry. So you've got club owners, festival owners and stuff, and they talk about this feeling, like that high of all highs kind of thing.
I was shattered because we had to go to another event afterwards, and I mean, where the adrenaline's so high from doing that show, we sat in the car driving to another party, and I was just like this. I was like, Jesus, what just happened? Like, it was exhaustion. And we had to go and do it again. It was crazy.
What would you say was your biggest challenges?
The industry.
Really?
Yeah, I think navigating the industry is the hardest bit about it all. The people you meet. Don't get me wrong, there's some great people in the industry, but there's some absolute bellends as well. Like, have to be on it. Do you know what I mean? It's I think when you go into different territories, and you kind of come out of your way of working and knowing and understanding where you've come from, and then having to change that to fit a different dynamic is quite difficult. especially in major world, when you've come from clubland and you step into major world, you're dealing with a completely different monster. And I think how they manage things and how people manage things is quite a difficult thing to deal with, especially with the levels of success that they expect you to have. And then the pressure that gets put on to have hits, if you know what I mean, where we're making music because we love it. And then all of a sudden you're making music because you've got to hit a new demographic, or you've got to hit a sales number and stuff. And it's like, we only want to make music. We don't know how to transcend that, if you know what I mean. And if you don't have the right team of people around you and you don't have someone guiding you in that world, it's so difficult to manage. And I don't think we did.
Okay. So is it one of the ones where they put so much pressure for you, make the track, and if you don't keep up, basically
that's it. Yeah, you're kind of done. Or if you're not ticking the right boxes, or you're not getting the right numbers, or you're not getting the same right support, the interest is not there anymore. But then at the same time, you've been taken from a world where you're getting plenty of love and you're getting a lot of respect for the clubland side of things, and then all of a sudden it's like
you've got to think bigger than that.
Yeah, it's bigger than that. You're not dealing with making music for 18 plus anymore, or clubbers. You're making music for such a bigger audience. And it's like, oh, well, you've had a hit now you've got to have another hit. Now you've got another have another hit. And even when So Freaking Tight came out, the hassle we were having with that at that point in time, because Spotify came in, and then all the numbers, they don't add up. It's like, oh my God. And I didn't want to just have, like, when I was younger, me was very much like, I'll just have that one hit top 40 and I'll be happy for life. And it didn't end up being like that. It was like, I don't want to be a one-hit wonder. I want to have another just to say I'm not a one-hit wonder. So the second time round, obviously with Pony, there was an awful lot of pressure on having such success on one single and expecting the second one to be as successful.
Okay. And what would you say you would do differently if you had to do it again?
I'd have a better team around us. Yeah, if I could pick a better team,
like manager or just like marketing.
I think everything.
Yeah.
I think everything. Yeah, I think we were kind of left to our own devices a lot of the time, and it was very difficult to kind of manage ourselves as well, because we're expecting guidance, and at the same time, we're not being guided by the team around us.
Okay.
So it was quite a difficult thing to get into.
Yeah. And like with the like nightlife industry, you're still DJing, doing big sets and stuff.
Yeah.
Would you say it's changed for the past 5 years?
Hugely.
Really?
Hugely. Like, I know a lot of people I've mentioned it before. A lot of people don't like to talk about it, but the shift in drug use has changed, especially the dance industry. I think when people moved over from, I don't know, MDMA and they started using ketamine, it affected the dance floor massively.
Okay.
I think sonically the music changed. I think the dynamic of the dance floor changed. And then obviously where COVID's come in, I just think people don't really know how to party anymore. Yeah. Like they're struggling to understand, like, what is it I do? Like, so they've lived their lives online, a lot of party goers now, and we're only kind of just getting around to figuring out what is people want, or what the new way of partying.
Because like the younger lot, I've noticed with them is that they want everything quick.
And everything.
And this is what Guy D'Angelo was saying. He's saying he's unsure. Like every 30 seconds, he's got to try and change the song up straight away. But like, do you notice the same thing? Or
I think in house music it's slightly different, but you do start to realise like some of the promos come in, they're like 3.5 minutes long.
Yeah.
The house records used to be 7 minutes long.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? So and then their streaming versions 1.5 minutes or 2 minutes, and you think barely a record, it's a jingle.
Yeah. It's true. And like, how do you balance your nightlife and also your normal life?
It's difficult. I try, where things have slowed down slightly gigging wise, I don't think our touring schedule before, I don't think I'd possibly be able to manage now. It'd be way too much. But it's getting there again. It's getting busy again. I do other stuff outside of like my own project. I do other projects, and I do side projects, and I kind of engineer and help other people as well. So I think being able to do that is keeps me sane at the same time. Because if I was just focused on one thing, I'd lose my marbles.
And like, what would you say, like, what does nightlife culture need right now? What does it need to just
It definitely needs a shake-up. Yeah, it definitely needs a shake-up. I think it needs some investment. I think the music industry needs something different in general. I think where a lot of people complain about artists not getting paid enough, which I agree with completely. the consumer's got to be willing to pay that money at the same time. So there has to be a sort of middle ground where it's fair for everybody.
Yeah.
Because us as consumers, we know damn well we don't want to pay more money for our clothes. We don't want to pay more money for music. We want to access as much as we can for as cheap as possible. Something somewhere has to change, because if an actor or artist goes, oh, I need more money, or I want more money, consumer's going to say, piss off. Like, no. That's true. Because they think that we're earning tons, but no, we're not. We're not at all. So
like Spotify making thousands of pounds, billions, sorry,
billions, mate.
And you're like, unless you increase it by an extra £5 or £6 a month, and I don't want to do that to the customers. However, we all want to use Spotify at the same time.
The thing is, like, a lot of people don't realize, obviously YouTube is the biggest. There's still like 3-something billion users. Like Spotify is still considerably small in comparison, but the money they pay out is minimal. Like, I'm sitting on however many million streams, and when you look at your sort of paycheck at the end of it, you think, I've had about 300 releases. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense at all. So I'm not sure what they're going to do.
Okay. But like YouTube is free, isn't it? So realistically, but they see it as, oh, I'm doing you a favor. Yeah. So it's like...
So this is the funny world about the industry. So at the minute, as an artist, from my perspective, I think we've been fed this lie that we can benefit you in every aspect, like, but you have to pay for it. So with Instagram, with Spotify and everything, it's like you build up a core following, you build up a fan base that have chosen to follow you, but now you have to pay to access it. And I'm thinking, no, if you followed me for a reason, it means you have a vested interest in my career and my music and what I'm doing. But I can't reach you unless I invest in that. But then I also have to invest in Facebook, and I have to invest in Spotify. And I'm thinking, but as an artist, I'm not even making that money anymore. And especially a new artist, you think they don't have that kind of money anymore. So if you want to get on playlists, like, oh, you've got to pay for that now. You've got to run a campaign. You've got to do... People don't know what to do.
Or you got to do a silly campaign to go viral.
Exactly. And that's the other thing. You've got the virality side of it, where people are sharing music they don't give a shit about. Like, there's so many songs. Like, I'll be honest, even myself, on some of the event stuff I've done, I've shared tracks I don't particularly like, but I've shared them because I know that they'll fall into a viral category. Doesn't mean it's a good track. It just means that I'm trying to be seen, or the music's trying to be seen. So it's very difficult at the minute to navigate and say, this is great. This is good music.
Sure. I definitely agree on that, because there's some artists I know, or I won't say I know them, but they've got like 20 million, 30 million views for a song. It's not even that good. However, everyone jumps on it, but you're like, how's this working? And you've got people who actually create some creative work, and they're like 1 million or even 500,000.
Exactly.
And I feel like it's kind of like luck, really, to go viral nowadays. So,
or if you've got the right team around you and they know how to work the algorithms, then it's everything's algorithm based. There's no organic thing. Everything's like, oh, let's force it. Yeah.
Hopefully
there's people on my feed that I couldn't care less about, but all of a sudden they're popping up, and I'm seeing them week after week, and I'm thinking, I don't want to see a fella not chewing his food, or like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's just strange. It's just a weird world.
100% agree.
So true. And I think you're right about the investment. And that's one of the things that inspired us to do the show. Is to like try and get young people wanting to have careers in hospitality and want to sort of, keep the venues alive. I mean, some of the stats is worrying. Like,
scary.
In 2023, there was 2 closures a week of venues, fixed venues. That's like scary.
It's difficult though, because there has to be some sort of compromise from both sides of it, because if you go to a venue now, it's £20 to get in. It's £7-8 just for a drink. Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make any sense, and a consumer can't afford that. But then the venues can't afford to stay open because the prices of everything are so high. You know what I mean? The cost of electricity and running the event, and
everything's gone up on
so something has to either fall on its arse and or reset itself slightly, or someone has to find a new way of working it.
No, I totally agree. Because the thing is, what's mad is, like, even though it's gone through the bumps, it's still a multi-billion pound industry.
And the other thing as well, people don't realise the mental health side of it, how beneficial it is for people to just escape 100%. The day-to-days, the work. Do you know what I mean? When Saturday comes, if some people living for the weekend, that is what they're living for, like that, and that's their escapism, because back to Monday and it's straight back into work again.
Sure.
Sure.
No, definitely. Cool. I think we're going to jump into quickfire now, Jules.
Go for it.
So, so Like, speak your hearts. But yeah, as I say all the time, we designed this round to be quick. It's never quick because you guys have got
I'm just going to give you one word answer.
So, just to kick things off nice and easy, who is the biggest party animal celeb that you've ever had at one of your events, parties?
Biggest party animal celeb? I couldn't tell you.
No?
Off the top of my head, no, I couldn't tell you. It's usually some lunatic that's not obviously a celeb who's got their top off and they're whipping it around their head.
Yeah.
Amazing. Cool. All right then. So, alive or dead,
Yeah.
celebrity-wise, who would you want to have at one of your sets?
Do you know what? I have had Prince at one of my sets.
Whoa.
I'd wish to have him at another set, to be fair.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, no,
Okay, that's up there.
that's up there. Yeah.
for sure. And alive or dead, what DJ would you love to do a back-to-back set with?
Do you know what? I think I'd have some fun with EZ. Obviously, I know him, and but still, he's someone I've always looked up to, and someone I've always kind of modelled my DJing style on. So I think we'd have
Great shout.
good chemistry.
Great shout. 3 things you think is needed to create the perfect vibe for a party?
I think you need a mixed clientele. I think you need it maybe 60-40 female to men ratio.
Yeah.
Always. I think you need a great sound system, low ceilings, dark lights, and just good music.
Okay, nice. All right, love that. Solid. And when you sort of were hitting the heights,
Yep.
With the tracks, like any celeb fans?
I've crossed paths with many, but even before Tough Love, there's many. Like I mentioned on a previous conversation that I had David Beckham call me up and ask me for some mixes and stuff. But this was before Tough Love, so
amazing.
Yeah, through the West End world and obviously that kind of stuff, you was always kind of rubbing shoulders with the occasional celeb. So
That's
a big shout. That one.
Yeah.
And outside of yourself,
yep.
Best DJ. I I feel like I know the answer to this one.
I think just because his style of DJing, it's just energy. It's just like it's creative. It's very much. I think a lot of DJs would turn around and say, when it comes to technicalities of dance music, especially, he is definitely up there.
Yeah, no, great shout. And is there any like sort of hospitality experiences or club nights or events that you look at and wish you created because you just respect what they're doing and how they're doing it so much?
Great question, to be fair. I think there's an awful lot of party brands out there that have gone. I really like the creative side of Elro. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Like they really put a lot into their performances and it's just mayhem. And for me, I just wouldn't know where to start on. Okay, how many inflatables you need, the amount of confetti you do. I do look at that party and I think, you guys you've created something different, especially in sort of my world. And
that's a great show. It's so interesting you talk about the production and stuff, because actually I think people want an experience, and with social media now, people they want to post that video of that thing happening that feels unique and different. So it's quite interesting to hear you say that, because we don't hear that all the time.
I think then that's also created a problem on the other side, because everyone's expecting experience. So I see when you see a lot of these parties, they've got massive visuals, they've got massive productions. It becomes a concert, and the organic side of raving in a small venue with the right people enjoying the music, that kind of disappears, and everything then falls onto to the whole viral thing with the phone. I was there, that kind of thing. People aren't there for the experience anymore. It's very much to say, I'm here because I want to capture my content and I want to go viral the same way as everyone else has gone viral. So there's an element of it being great, but there's also an element of it killing the organic side of things.
That's super interesting.
And especially for the promoter, he has to keep up his production costs.
And that's the other thing as well. It's cost.
You've got to make sure the screen, the lights are like this.
It's cost. I would pick, I'll be honest with you, if I had the option of both, I would pick a crowd of people partying and having the best time of their life than standing there kind of just waiting for the next
light
track.
Screen.
But can you talk about like a moment, a wild, crazy moment where you either turned up to a venue or you're mid-set and something mad happens?
Man, there's
As long as you don't incriminate yourself, we're all good.
It's difficult. Like, obviously, there's always nudity involved in gigs. Do you know what I mean? Whether it's guys or girls, there's someone either flashing you, or I remember we were playing a set once, and out of nowhere, everyone's sort of laughing and giggling in front of them, thinking, "What the fuck's going on?" There was about 6 or 7 fellas. They just decided to get naked behind us, and they were just all, there's always nudity involved in nightlife for whatever reason. People like to get naked.
Must be a tough love thing.
Yeah,
I haven't seen that personally.
Yeah, there's so many mad things have happened on stage. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one thing about hospitality, the stories.
Oh, crazy. But you can't always tell them either.
No.
True,
That's
true. Very true, very true. But I think that's one of the sort of motivations of the show as well, is just to bring a smile on people's faces, because life's got so serious. And back to your point about like going out, mental health, and how much that helps you just escape and, wake up on a Monday and like, whew, but actually that was awesome. So,
great memories, like things you look back and think, that was unreal.
Definitely. And then we've sort of talked a lot about competition on the show.
Yeah.
Whether that's competition for an event or a club, and it making you stronger. Can you sort of let us into sort of how like the competition side of DJing works?
Yeah.
And then also like, do DJs collaborate and work together, or is it dog eat dog? I'd love to just get an insight from you there.
It's different. It depends on the person you're collaborating with.
Yeah.
Like, there are some great people out there, as I said, and there's some absolute bellends. Like, unfortunately, that's part and parcel of everything. No, it's no different to any other workspace. Like, someone's always trying to get higher up the ladder. You find a lot of people kind of use you in the sense of everyone's interested when they can gain something from you. And there are some people that are genuine, like, I want you to do well, which, if you find them, hold on to them people. Tightly. Do you know what I mean? DJing's always been competitive at every single level. Someone will always undercut. Do you know what I mean? Like, I might play a West End venue, and then all of a sudden someone's like, I can do it for 50 quid. But they can't do it as good. But people don't realize that it's the experience that you've gone through that makes you the kind of DJ you are. You couldn't just, and a lot of people do it now. They think they can just get behind the decks and think, that's it, I'm good. And for some reason have this crazy ego, like they've been doing it for years, and you think, relax. You have to learn so many different sort of venues. You have to learn different equipment. You have to learn different crowds. Like, you have to understand the environment you're in, because a fucking techno set in a posh restaurant sort of lounge is not going to work. Do you know what I mean? You have to experience all of these things to really understand, like, I can work in so many different kind of venues, or I can work in so many different kind of categories. But it's definitely a difficult one,
right? And
there's snakes out there. There's some sneaky people out there.
Like, and see, when you were like earlier in the journey for you, like, if you ask somebody for advice or help, do you find that they're open to it, or did you find that they were more like, I'm not going to give like the jewels away here?
Yeah, some people have been great. Some people are great, like, give good advice, but usually they're the ones who are the most experienced, right? Like the ones who've experienced it all and gone through the trials and tribulations of the industry. They're usually the ones who most sort of acceptable to kind of talking to you.
Amazing.
Yeah, which is great.
This is time to incriminate yourself, actually.
Oh
God. Like, obviously, people from hospitality, DJs and stuff, like, we also know how to have a good time and party. Like, tell us about what a Steph Tough Love night looks.
Do you know what?
Like, and where? Come on.
I'm probably the most sensible person in this industry. This is the thing. So a lot of people don't realise, obviously, where I started so young, I don't drink, smoke, or do drugs. Like, I never have done.
Right.
So I've went in sort of into the career quite business minded in a sense, like, I'm being paid to do a job. Do your bloody job. Don't be silly.
Right.
So I'm not the wildest of it. I would much prefer the crowd to be the wild ones, and I provide the service of what I do. I can't say that for Alex. They've been. I'm kind of like that dad figure where, do your bloody job first, and then we can party and do stuff afterwards. Early on in our career, he made the mistake of not doing that. So I just remember driving back from Manchester. He was in a bit of a pickle, and I just pulled over in a what do you call it, service station. I just went, we're gonna have a chat about last night. Just said to him, don't ever do that again.
Yeah.
He kind of sat there like this.
Like getting told off.
He'd just been told off. I'm very like work first.
Yeah.
Like, make sure you do your job properly.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We're hearing more of that actually, you know, and I think that's the thing, you know, when you're in that booth, obviously I've seen you in the energy and you're so into it, you know, you don't always get that interpretation that actually you guys, it's work for you.
100%.
It just looks like fun.
Yeah. It's fun when you've got a connection with the crowd.
Yeah.
It's hard work when you don't. And it's, for me, it's my job to make sure I have a connection with that crowd in some capacity at all, because like, as I said, not every track's going to work for everyone. So you've got to try and find them pockets of people that are ready to party. And again, you can't learn that until you do the shit jobs. Until you do them kind of random gigs.
Yeah. Can you talk to us a little bit about that in terms of when you're in that club that's busy, you know, versus the club that's not busy, and like how you manage that from a set perspective and a planning perspective, or is it just gut feel?
Yeah, for me it's gut feel. I've never planned shows ever, never planned sets. I have a catalogue of music that I know generally works for the masses, but usually it's very much per gig sort of situation, because you never know what's in front of you. Like, and then even before Tough Love, I played corporate gigs and I've been told this is the itinerary, this is what we want to play. And it's been the complete opposite. Like it's been house or it's been cheese or dance, and then all of a sudden the crowd just want hip hop and R&B, or they want. So if I turned up there with a pre-prep show, I'd be fecked.
Okay. Wicked. So you have to change your structure every time
100%.
you get there.
Yeah. 100%.
Like Mike Tyson say, you don't know.
You don't know when you get punched in the face.
That's it.
You get someone trying to punch you in the face. I want to listen to R&B. Amazing.
That's amazing. Like, what's your main goals for Tough Love and the future?
I think I just want to maintain a good career in it. I kind of just want to keep enjoying it. I like the journey. I like the way where it's taking me. I think more self-sufficient, more reliant on me, not relying on sort of labels and stuff to deliver things, and hopefully keep inspiring people to do the music. Do you know what I mean? Keep inspiring people to DJ. Like, I think it's a great thing to be able to do as long as you've got the skin to do it.
That's wicked.
I mean, it's amazing because, like, how do you stay sort of focused and creative? Like you said earlier, like 300 releases. That's a lot. How do you stay creative?
You've got to love what you do. Like, you have to love it. And the thing, everything's forever evolving. And with house music, everyone likes to pigeonhole and say, oh, you're deep house or you're tech house or you're tribal or you're Afro house or whatever. But for me, I like to be able to know how to make them. So if the time came and I'm like, I quite like the idea of this, I want to be able to create something. Or even if I have a client who says, I want a track that's similar to this, I want to have the knowledge of understanding it's not really my thing, but I'm capable of doing it. So behind the scenes, you're always learning. And with AI and everything now, the transition into to production is crazy.
Amazing.
Can I ask you a little bit about like collaboration? Like, how does that, like, obviously Roger Sanchez, you know, like the name is a long list who you collab with. Like, can you talk to us how that process happens? Do you just see someone you respect and want to work with, you reach out to them, they reach out to you?
It varies. Obviously, where you're crossing paths with people in Clubland a lot, you build up a rapport with certain DJs. Sometimes you're like, let's get in the studio. It never really happens, but then occasionally it does. Sometimes you just vibe with certain people and it's like, flip it, we'll get in the studio and make something. And other times it can be a little bit more preempted, where certain people look at followings and think, that would be a good match for you. Like that would work well for you. A remix on here would be good for you for profiling and stuff. So there is the profiling side of things as well. So it varies. For me now, I'm very much like, if I like you and we get on, we get in the studio, no matter what level you're at, because I can't be asked doing the whole, just kind of ladder climbing stuff.
You're right though. Like, you know, there's some artists that like were down there, and the other artists there, they've took the risk, and it's blown into like magic. You know, Come Closer, the Drake and Wiz track. That track was a banger, but like Drake just about barely wanted to do it. Didn't even feature in the video. But then obviously the track became a banger, and then he wants to get
changes, doesn't it?
You know what I mean? Like, I love the attitude stuff in terms of that mindset. I'm being cheeky because I'll keep throwing questions at you.
Go,
but who would you want to collab with? Like,
man,
is there like
I still love my sort of hip hop and R&B side of things. I still love the originals. I'd love to do a track with like a Missy Elliott, a Busta Rhymes, or someone. Just that little
legend.
Yeah, like even Timbaland. I think if Timbaland had a little twist on, that's always been my thing. I've always been influenced by that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
love that. Love that. All right.
Do you ever think like, you touched on AI?
Yeah.
Do you think that's a problem to the music industry, or would you say
for me it's great?
Okay.
So the last song I released called Weakness, I sung and wrote that. So it's 100% me.
Yeah.
Wow. And I can just I can vocal in, drag it in, change the voice into a way that I want, rather than have to rely on other people. And I've got a fully sort of fledged song ready to go.
Good
so yeah. So for someone like myself, it's very like, to avoid the whole collaboration side of things and work on my ideas, it's a much easier way to get things out.
Yeah.
But it's also dangerous at the same time, because like the copyright side of things is going to be very difficult to manage and look after now, because everyone's using the same sounds. Everyone's got access to literally everything. So it'd be quite difficult to manage that in time. Because
you work so hard to obviously get to where you are.
Yeah.
And you've obviously built up your experience. But you don't want someone that's just learned it, I know, took 2 months to look at a program. Next minute they're making hits as well.
But they can. Like anyone can. It's like anything. There's graphic designers out there now losing work because of the capabilities of the art side of things. So you still have to have the knowledge and understanding of how to use it.
Okay.
Like there are some people, they get lucky and they make a banger. You've got to follow that banger up, and if you don't, you've gone up and down as quickly. Do you know what I mean?
That's what I mean, yeah.
And also back to the viral side of things, like some people do this and they don't, like a lot of people's journeys are generally this, if you know what I mean, progressing. There doesn't seem to be that sort of progression for a lot of people anymore. It's like from one to the other, and then everyone hates them because they're everywhere all of a sudden.
Or they go like this and just disappear.
That's it, yeah.
Like you get some silly ones like Hawk Tour one. Was it Hawk
Tour?
Yeah,
exactly. But it's exactly what we were talking about earlier on. All of a sudden someone's on your feed that you're not interested in, but they're everywhere and we all know about that person. We don't care.
Yeah, you just
we don't care. No.
Yeah, and that's why it's great that like people who love your music and love what you're doing and stuff can hear this side of it, you know, and get the real talk and the real stories of like actually the building blocks needed to have that success and stay there, because you've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
So it's not, you didn't do that, you've just done that consistently over time.
Like that and then sort of
go like that. We'll go back.
Amazing.
And what advice would you give to someone up and coming? Artist, DJ, what would you give advice would you give them?
You just got to work hard. I think you just got to understand what you're doing, work hard. A little bit of humility helps, I think, because there's a lot of ego out there at the minute. And just put yourself in positions, take opportunities that come your way as much as you can, because most of my work has come from just randomly taking an opportunity or bumping into someone, talking to someone, and like a year down the line, all of a sudden a bit of work has come from them that person. So you just never know what's going to come your way. So as I said,
take every opportunity.
Exactly.
It's like you said, you took a gig. It's like Cabaret Prophecy.
No, so I took a gig. Yeah, so I was at a venue called Cabaret.
Yeah.
And I got asked to play a different party because this person wanted to go and play Embassy Club.
Yeah.
So I went into this venue and it was it weren't even like a private members club. It was very under the radar kind of space. And eventually that housed every celebrity that came into the UK, came into London. And I was the director of music at this venue for maybe 2-3 years.
Amazing.
Yeah, so again, exactly that. Yeah. The first show I played there was no one in the venue. So
So take the dead sets.
No one. Yeah, so
100%.
Yeah, no, but that's the thing. Like, what a great bit of advice, you know, because I think at times people want the perfect moment or think there's a perfect moment, and then there isn't. You just got to be ready when it comes, and take a leap of faith sometimes, and look where it can land you.
Random.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, we met that many years ago, and I believe like. Even the journey before I was in CC's, that felt long to me. And then down the line, tough love comes about. It's just, you just never know what's going to happen.
Exactly. Amazing. Well, look, been an amazing show. Steph, thank you so much for sharing all of your experiences and knowledges. Like, can't wait to see what you do over the next 5, 10.
I'll make up as I go
probably 20.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks again for being on the show, and great to see you as always, mate.
Thank you guys.
Yeah,
cheers.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you.